Hello there, my name is Ernest. Many thanks for joining us. Now, in our very first story, 4 people narrowly escaped death when the vehicle transporting them was washed away by floodwaters in a storm drain in Ho, the Volta regional capital. It took the timely intervention of onlookers to swiftly rescue them from the vehicle, which landed on its side in the storm drain. Eyewitness accounts suggest the Hohoi-bound driver ignored all dangers and attempted driving through the floodwaters. Fred Kwame has more in the following report.
The rains, which started in the late afternoon of Thursday and lasted for about 3 hours, left major storm drains flooded in Ho. There was a near fatality when a hiring vehicle was washed away by the floodwater off the Ola Central Market Road. A timely intervention by onlookers led to the evacuation of occupants of the vehicle, which had landed on its side in the storm drain. Felicia Dekbo is an eyewitness.
Dollar, capi lady doleme, driver to, but lady held back and to force it open door. Kaka driver ya like chime matanga to, capi get the chime kakala, capi force ya overdo. Driver play a lady.
Fortunately, the occupants did not sustain severe injuries. A team from the Volta Regional Fire Service Post was at the scene to remove the damaged vehicle from the storm drain.
When we got here, people were able to assist them by removing the people out of the vehicle. But the vehicle itself could not be removed because it was in the ditch. So we have to call our towing vehicle to assist, to ensure that we pick it from where it was. Of course, though there had been a damage to the vehicle, we didn't want further damage. So it took us about an hour to be able to strategize and then move the vehicle out of the place safely. So
this section of the road is noted for perennial flooding, as the culvert is too small to contain large volumes of running water.
Ghana, the original Bendene Joafi, Ejo Bello, Ejo Tare, Nova Bonamilo.
Kelele Bonami, nous Kelele Mejopo, les ho la Sigame Mojipo, Kaka Betoyade, Egbetoya Meya Coca, Egbetoya Meya Cocrow, Kami David, the Kuku minister, never call Nuke Bonami. Gotama, you Bessia Bella Gotala, a food, let's Vira Jaco, Gotayo, let's Vira Jaco, Gotayo, Homo Yareka, Homo Pomo, Jawabari, MC Bonami.
The Home Municipal Chief Executive, Prosper P. Bansa, who visited the scene, promised to take immediate actions on reconstructing the culvert.
This bridge, in fact, it cannot longer accommodate the volume of water which is passing through it, and we will have to do something about it. Currently, there is a hydrologist in town, but that job is not a priority, but they've awarded it. They are working on the drain from the Municipal Hospital Road to the Tasso. In fact, when they came to me yesterday, I complained bitterly that this bridge, the Amegashi Bridge, is the most prime area where they have to look at before. But I will send this information to the Volta Regional Minister, and we'll come and look at it and draw the Ministry of Works and Housing's attention to it.
Fred Kwame, JoyNews, Ho.
Let's go live to Ho now and speak to Fred Kwame, who brought us this report. Fred, let me start first by asking you to give us a quick translation of what the residents there told you in that report.
Well, basically what they were saying was that the area is noted for a perennial flood. Anytime it rains, the place gets flooded. So what their suggestion is that they want the whole municipal assembly, and for that matter, the government to reconstruct the culvert there so that anytime it rains, there will be enough space under the culvert to contain any amount of flood water, so that there wouldn't be floods in the area, even if the smallest amount of rainfall. So what they are suggesting is that they want government to expand the culvert there to make room for flood water to pass beneath the culvert and not flood over the roads and cause misfortune.
What is the situation this morning in Ho, especially from this particular area where we had the incident?
Everything is calm. The flood water, as cleared off the road, so there's free flow of traffic. Actually, the place was cleared even yesterday in the evening. So just after some few hours after the rain stopped, the place was okay for vehicles to use the road. So as we speak now, there is free flow of traffic. There's no flood at that section of the road.
Let's look at the situation also in the region. You brought us the story of Ho, but what is happening elsewhere? And once we are in the rainy season, I'm sure there are a few more areas, and especially residents who are worried that they could see what they've been seeing over the years with a lot of flood and its attendant effect on them and the activities.
In Ho per se, I should say that major drains got flooded during the downpour yesterday. There's another area which is called Leposeyo. Also, that section as well got flooded. But then the damage wasn't that severe. I should say previously, anytime it rains and there's flood in the area, it rushes into the homes of people. But then yesterday's own. This was the only misfortune that happened, or the only misfortune that happened was along the Ulasinya High School whole market stretch of road. But then in other parts of the region, I should say that there was no severe damage caused by the flood.
Do you know of any preparation by the assembly, for instance, as before the rain set in? Because in Kumasi, we know that the KMA underwent some exercises. They silted the gutters and made sure that they were ready for the rains. Did you see anything of the sort in Ho?
Well, there was nothing of that sort here in the Ho municipality. But then what happened was that just like it was done in other parts of the region due to the coronavirus and stuff, when the market was closed down, the areas of the whole central market was cleared of debris and stuff like that. But then the clearing of main drains in the capital of the Volta region, nothing like that was done. So I spoke to the MC, and what he told me was that they've awarded contract for the reconstruction of one of the drains in the town, that is the one around Tasso. It's also a major drain in Ho. But then he thinks that that project is not a priority project at the moment. They should have channeled that fund to reconstruct the one that got flooded yesterday, that is off the Ho La Highway. He was thinking that should have been the best project, that should have been the best project the fund should be used for. But then he also mentioned that he would call the attention of the regional minister. They would come and look at the situation, monitor, and then see what they can do about the road to ensure that anytime it's raining and there is flood, it doesn't cause life and property.
Fred, thank you very much for bringing us some more information on the situation in Ho and indeed in the Volta region as the rain sets in. A lot of these issues are bound to happen. We'll be following them closely, but also checking with the assemblies and government on what has been done to address these perennial issues. Let's go to the Bono East region now, because the region has recorded its first case of coronavirus, bringing the total number of regions that have recorded COVID-19 to 15. Now, Bono East Regional Minister Honorable Kofi Amoakohene disclosed this during a media briefing at the Kintampo Health Research Center. The case was detected in Yeji in the Pru East District, involving a 31-year-old man who drives from Yeji to Kumasi. Anasabit was at this press briefing and has come through with the following report.
The Bono East region has become the 15th region to record a COVID-19 case since Ghana recorded its first case in March this year. The region has since conducted a total of 1,393 COVID-19 tests with 506 results received. Bono East Regional Minister Honorable Kofi Amwakohene disclosed this at a media briefing held at the Kintampo Health Research Center Thursday.
Our routine surveillance has captured 154 cases. Total negative 144, that's 644. Awaiting results 10. And then the enhanced surveillance. Total samples taken 1,239. Results available 362. Negative results, that's tested, 361. Positive results 1. Results pending 877. And then routine and enhanced surveillance put together. Total samples taken so far is 1,393. Results available or received so far is 506. Negative results is 505 and 1 positive.
The first case, a 31-year-old driver who plies the Yeji-Kumasi road, is part of samples taken as a result of enhanced routine surveillance conducted by the Regional Health Management Team.
Concerning the case, that's 0. Male, 31 years, resident at Yeji. Contact identified so far is 8. Still engaging the community. And the one is under our care in a quarantine facility.
The region is currently awaiting over 880 results with its statuses yet to be established. Reporting for JoyNews, Anas Sabit, Kinta.
Let's go to the Bono region now. We've been joined by the Regional Health Director, Dr. Fred Adomako Boateng. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on Newsdesk. Let's start with this first case you have recorded. How is the patient doing and how are you managing the situation?
Okay, so the patient is currently with us in one of the facilities that we are managing. And then he is one of the people that falls into the criteria of asymptomatic.
Okay.
As we are aware, when people are confirmed of having COVID-19, we break them into various categories for purposes of management. The first one is what we call the asymptomatic. Basically, they don't show any signs and symptoms of the disease. The second one is what we call mild, the moderate, severe, and critical. But he falls into the category of asymptomatic. Well-able-bodied man, moving about, doing everything. So currently, that's how we are managing him back to the facility.
Now that you have your first case, the likelihood of a spread is very, very possible. You're already awaiting 880 results. I don't know if you have some in already and what the indications are.
Okay, so just to give a background to this particular case, where you look at Bono East, based on the routine surveillance that we were doing. Initially, remember that we were taking samples when people came to our facility, and they gave us a set of symptoms that we thought they were likely to have COVID-19. So before this enhanced testing, we have picked almost 154. But looking at the locality of Bono East, we thought, look, and looking at the way this disease is presenting, it's better we do detailed search. Let's look more and see, because if you look at this country, one of the regions that is potential, have a potential for outbreak is Bono strategically, the Chiman, one of the largest markets in the West Africa, a capable market.
Yeah.
So we decided that because of that, look, we will do what we call enhanced testing. And we just deviated from the routine one where people were coming to us. If you like, we say as kind of surveillance. So we categorize the people in the region into the high-risk people. And by high risk, we're saying that if anybody was going to get COVID-19 in Bono, it's likely to be one of the commercial drivers because they are exposed to a lot of people, health workers, food vendors. And Bono is having about 11 districts. So when we use the census, we saw, look, we could pick about 889 samples. And across the Bono East, we took the samples for all the districts. So it's just like, in this particular case, when we are about taking samples, he said, oh, I'm not sick. We said, yes, we know. But we really want to verify that, look, the cases that we are not recording, that is the true picture.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, when the first set of results came, 197, everybody was negative.
Okay.
It was the second set that came, that one is positive.
Okay.
So currently, as we are speaking, they are bringing in the report. So we search and look at it.
And
so
this
report
report
is more of enhanced testing that we decided to do and pick this case up.
So this report that you're waiting includes the 880 people?
Yes. So it's 1,239 so far, and then for the enhanced, and then we have the 300, over 300 that have come in now.
Okay. So it appears that you have been somewhat proactive as far as COVID-19 is concerned. Can you tell us about your treatment centers, for instance? What is the capacity you have? And where are you doing the testing? Are you taking it up to Tamale or bringing it down south to Kumasi? How are you able to test these people? And what is the timing like? How early are you able to receive the results?
In fact, all our samples were sent to Tamale. You know, the heavy loads in Kumasi and Accra. So we decided for this time, let's go to Tamale because they are likely to get it faster.
Okay.
So all our samples are at Tamale. And then, as we are speaking, we have also been able to identify the contacts, especially the close ones, which we have also taken samples.
Okay.
We have also even quarantined some of the contacts in some of the quarantine facilities. So that is what we are done. Bono is, we selected some treatment centers, and one of them is Kintampono. In fact, if we are looking across the country, and a model treatment center is at one of them is at Kintampono.
Okay.
So it's actually built by U.S. Army. They use the infection prevention control principles in building these treatment centers, the risk and the high. So for that place, we can pick about 14 cases. And not only that, we also have a very big completed. I don't know whether it's timely or God-given. We can pick about 800 cases over there. So 80 cases. So we have prepared, not kind of more than that, but for now, we have the capacity to be able to. Now, even when you go to Pro East, we are just having some rapid response meetings, thinking through what has happened. They can also manage 6 mild cases at Pro East at St. Matthias Hospital. So these are the things that we are now doing, and then we are fashioning out the strategy going forward.
That sounds good, but let us look at the preventive protocols and the social distancing, wearing of face masks. Do you see compliance, adherence to all of these protocols?
That is the challenge. That is the challenge. Adherence to social distancing and wearing of the mask is a challenge. And I think it should be a border for all of us. Because initially when the cases started, there were only 2 of them, COVID, in Greater Accra. And for you to get COVID, you have to travel across the country, let's see, for want of better word, come to Accra. But currently, as we are speaking, we have over 5,000 cases, which means that the likelihood of having COVID-19 is also so high.
Yeah.
So it means that, look, and now I was having some discussion with other people. they said, what are we doing at our borders, making sure we don't have... I told them, look, this case is within. Now the cases are within. The enemy is within. So far as we are tightening border and all those, we should also make sure that the preventive measures that will stop transmission from a person to person is that. And this is a collective responsibility.
And I can imagine that this will change your education strategy, because now you have a case, and so you would have to you have to take a look again at how you are educating people, and you perhaps have to intensify your education as well.
Okay, so, and that is where it's a shared responsibility. As I am discussing this issue with you, I don't know the number of people that are wearing masks at your studio or your facility. And for us to come and tell you the benefits of wearing masks, it's for the two of us now to continue enforcing and encouraging each other to wear it. Somebody was saying, why don't we enforce it? How can maybe people will take a taxi, trotro? How can you get people each coming?
Well, there's an example in Kumasi where the police is helping to enforce this. But I want to thank you so much, Dr. Fred Adumako Boateng. That's all time will allow us for now. We'll return to the region when we have an update. But let's go on to Zoom now and speak to our correspondent there, Anas Sabit. Anas, how are people reacting to the news of the first case being recorded in the Bono East region?
To most of the people we've been speaking with from yesterday,
Apologies, we have some bad connection there to Anas a bit. We'll rectify that once we have a good connection. We'll return to him to find out how people are reacting to the news that Bono East has recorded its first case of COVID-19. And back to Twitter now. The Twitter has for the first time flagged and hidden a tweet by the United States President Donald Trump saying he violated the rules about glorifying violence. And swiftly, Donald Trump took to Twitter early this morning saying, quote, "When the looting starts, the shooting starts," in reference to the nationwide protest that has followed the deadly arrest of George Floyd and an armed black man in Minneapolis. Let's bring you shots of that tweet by the U.S. president. But in Ghana, social media has been replete with reactions from Donald Trump, with some wondering whether these could have some effect on the 2020 general elections going forward. Joining us via Zoom is Kwame Ahiabenu, a tech innovation expert, to look at the implications of the Twitter action on content posted on Twitter. Thank you very much for joining us, Kwame, on this issue. Now, in the first place, why did Twitter take the action against President Trump? Hello, Mr. Ahiabenu, if you can hear me, why would Twitter take such an action against the U.S. President, Donald Trump? Well, we seem to be having some issues with the connection there, but on your screen right now is the tweet from Donald Trump. It says, "I can't stand back and watch this happen to a great American city, Minneapolis." It continues to make some comments that Twitter was not exactly happy with. It says that a total lack of leadership, either the very weak radical left mayor Jacob Frey get his act together and bring the city under control, or I will send in the National Guard and get the job done right. All right, so that was the initial tweet by Donald Trump, and then there was another one. But let's go to Zoom now and speak to Kwame Ahiabenu, who is a tech expert. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us once again. So I was wondering why Twitter would take such a decision against such a powerful man, the U.S. President, Donald Trump.
Thanks very much, and good morning. Basically, if you join Twitter or any social media account, you have terms and conditions that you sign up to. For Twitter, they have clear guidelines as to what content you can post, and when you post the content, what action they can take on such a content. So the case of President Donald Trump, he violated 2 of Twitter's conditions when it comes to posting content. One of them was that the issue that he put on his Twitter handle was not true, so it was fact check. The other one was that he was trying to incite violence. And usually, Twitter guidelines even say that such content should not only be blocked, but the account should be deleted. But I think they made an exception not to delete Donald Trump's account.
Now, how does this affect the ethical use of Twitter and other social media platforms?
I think it's a function of things you can do or you cannot do. So if you sign up to a social media handle and they state out their guidelines quite clearly, you have to decide that, look, do I want to be part and parcel of this? You have to remember that for social media, the company as Twitter has certain responsibility. The users also have some responsibility at play. Now, if you want to be ethical, then you're obligated to follow the guidelines. And that will ensure that we have ethical use of such a platform. So for me, it goes a long way to reinforce the fact that Twitter took a decision to ensure that its ethics, so to speak, are followed. Some people may argue against those guidelines, but they follow what they wanted to do on their platform.
And we know that Trump is a high-profile personality, and such people have the account usually verified. His account is verified. Does Twitter and other social media platforms expect extra circumspection from such account holders?
Twitter, for example, had a big issue with their verification process. So it later turned out that some verifiable accounts were not even legit. So that's a different discussion. Yes, verification is to say that, look, this account belongs to the President of the United States, and we are verified that is the true personality behind the Twitter account, because people can create a social media handle and assume the characteristic of the President of US. But what we have to note is that the verification process does not mean that the content that will come out from the verified account is legit, or it may not contain content which may be inappropriate. So verification is just to say that, look, this account belongs to multimedia, and we verify that content coming from the account comes from multimedia. But it does not go beyond to do editorial stuff, which is the content coming from multimedia legit? Is it fake news or otherwise?
How does this work? Would Twitter, does Twitter have a way of finding out these posts by themselves, by the system, or that it will take a report from somebody to draw the attention to this? Because I'm sure that there may have been, similar posts reacting in similar manner and similar fashion like Trump did, but may still be on there.
So it's happening in 2 ways. Twitter as an organization running their social media company have the ability to see what content is shared on their platform. But more importantly, users such as you and I can actually send messages to Twitter to complain about a certain post. And so I believe that most of this will come from users who feel that this content is inappropriate, who feels that the content may not be correct, and they will send that feedback to Twitter. Now, Twitter will not take that content as a red flag and verify it. Based on their independent assessment, if they believe that the content does not follow their guidelines, then they will take the action appropriate to the content that was posted.
Let's come here to Ghana. How can this influence the system here in Ghana, the local scene, as we approach election 2020?
Now, this is very interesting. U.S. is a very powerful country, and a lot of people look up to U.S. Now, remember what Donald Trump did after the action by Twitter was to sign an executive instrument, which effectively removed the protection that the social media companies have. Let me explain. Basically, the social media companies in U.S. where this law is applicable have a protection that says that they cannot be held liable for content that is posted on their network. In that sense, when I post a content which is maybe not correct and all that, I will be held responsible for that content, not Twitter per se. So what Donald Trump did was that he signed an executive instrument effectively removing that protection. And that is not a very good practice. And other countries that look up to US or want to put up bad behavior and want to use the evidence from US as an example, then we have a problem with this action of President Donald Trump in signing the executive instrument. For me, I think it's important to realize that social media is a very important and powerful tool for any democracy or any striving society. So we have to ensure that we have responsible usage of it. But at the same time, we should not allow government or institutions to try to prevent free speech on it. And Donald Trump action point to a bad example of what not to do when it comes to allowing freedom on those platforms in a responsible manner, if I want to add that.
And we are wrapping up on this, but we have an election coming up. How should this guide us as we approach election 2020? You have a lot of politically exposed persons who could be posting similar things on social media, not just on Twitter, but all the other platforms. How should we be guided?
Remember, at some point in time during one of our elections, the IGP wanted to ban social media. Unfortunately, some of this irresponsible use of social media may lead for people calling for a ban. But for me, it's important for the media, civil society artists, other artists in the political space, constantly keep on looking at the space to watch out for activities that will prevent people from expressing their freedom of speech on social media account. So for me, there is an important role that we all have to play. We have to be responsible when it comes to social media usage, but more importantly also, we have to realize that the state does not have that authority just to try to block that right. So for me, it's a constant engagement. We have to monitor the space. We have to ensure that we can keep the social media space free from any harassment or any untold government control, which will mean that we cannot have free speech on social media.
Thank you very much, Kwame Ahiabedu. He is a tech innovation expert, bringing us some analysis on the development in the U.S., where Twitter has flagged the tweet of the U.S. President Donald Trump. Let's see how this unfolds in the coming days. Now, national security operatives say the search continues for an alleged Facebook fraudster, Prince Joel, for impersonating public officers and duping some Ghanaians. According to the state prosecutors, Prince Joel, together with his wife, who is in the grips of the national security, created multiple Facebook accounts promising to recruit people into state agencies. Minister of Information Kojo Nkrumah, Foreign Affairs Minister Shirley Ayoko Botwe were among the many whose names were used fraudulently. Prosecutor on the case, Frederick Sapon, says so far 10 victims have reported the case to the police and are assisting with investigations, although they may be in their hundreds. My colleague Nancy Amefa Dradosi has been following this story and our reports.
Has come into our country and has taken advantage of our loopholes. It's very disturbing. I think we are not safe as Ghanaians at all.
An angry victim I choose to call Afi. Right after joining an online church service, she received a message from a scammer impersonating the Information Minister, Kojo Nkrumah.
He was my student sometime. I don't want to say the educational level. So I trusted that I was talking to my students. And then it talked about a stimulus package. I thought that, well, for us teachers, we always, at a point in time, we get our students remembering us. So I thought it was a good thing that my students had remembered me. Then he said I should talk to somebody who was a PA or something. So he gave me the person's number, and then I called him, only to be told that I should give them 70 cedis or so.
Afi paid the amount, but that was the last amount. She noticed it was a scam.
It really crossed my mind that, why would my student who's been turned into a politician, why would he want to take only 70 cedis to register me for something like that? So immediately I sent them and I said, no, this is a scam.
It's very pathetic. It's very pathetic. We are managing. It's very pathetic.
Not everyone noticed this scam early. Another man I choose to call Kwesi was desperate to get a job after being unemployed for some time. Kwesi also received a message from an account bearing the name of the Foreign Affairs Minister, Shirley Ayokoboche. Kwesi says he was so desperate that he fell for the trap.
When I went on Facebook and saw Shirley Ayokoboche requesting for friend. So after I requested, she replied and then asked me, what can I do for you? Then I said, I'm jobless, I need a job. So he said I should wait. Later on, he gave me a number, a name by Bafo Sekufo, and then he said I should contact him. After contacting Bafo Sekufo, he asked me to pay a series of money, which I did. It amounted to about 6,000 Ghana cedis.
After enticing offers, Kwesi borrowed an amount of 6,000 Ghana cedis from his wife, a petty trader. Now, they are buried in debt.
All the money that my wife used in trading, I collected that money thinking that I had got the job. He said he was giving me a job from Tama Oil Refinery. So I thought that job would be going on so that I could, at the end of the month, could repay back my wife. But up to today, nothing.
Afi and Kwesi are both concerned about different things. Afi wants the loopholes in the system to be sealed.
Just 70 Ghana cedis, but it wouldn't have been anything but the fact that a foreigner could just come, stay in our country, and get access to our media, without any restriction is worrying.
Kwesi needs his money, and that's all he wants.
A matter of after the court, they should see that they refund the money to me when the guy is caught.
Meanwhile, the prosecutor on the case, Frederick Sapong, says the national security has so far received complaints from 10 victims who have been duped to the tune of 15,000 Ghana cedis.
During the month of April, Sajida Vivian Imran and her husband, Prince Joel, used the names and photographs of several ministers to create multiple accounts of Facebook and pretended to be the said ministers.
Meanwhile, his outfit is still on a manhunt for a Nigerian Facebook fraudster, Prince Joel, after the arrest of his wife.
They were tracked down to their house at Ashaima and Jericho, where Vivian was arrested, but the husband, Prince Joel, managed to escape arrest. After the arrest, the investigators conducted a search in the rooms of the accused persons, and they found 6 mobile phones with the phone numbers that were used to receive money from the victims through mobile money.
The national security is asking persons who may have fallen victim to such scams to come forward and assist with investigations.
Time to take a break here on Newsdesk, but still to come in business. 4 savings and loans companies approach the central bank for liquidity support. Daryl Kwao has details after this break.